Well, joining me now, the chair of the House Intel Committee, January 6th Select Committee member and California Congressman Adam Schiff in Washington. Happy New Year, Congressman, and welcome back to Sunday Morning Matters.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you.
You know, Thursday obviously marked the 1 year since the deadly riot on the Capitol. You know, I want to get a sense of what it was like standing there a year removed from one of the darkest moments on American soil. You offered testimonials on that day. Give me a sense of what it was like a year ago versus the 1 year anniversary of it.
Well, a year ago, I was on the House floor when insurrectionists were battering the doors and breaking glass to get in. And, you know, it was a harrowing experience, being told by the police that we needed to get out our gas masks, that we had to get prepared to get down on the ground, and then ultimately we needed to get out. What was most terrible, I think, about that day a year ago was the realization that that attack was coming from our own citizens. From Americans misled by the former president into believing that the election had been stolen, and who were seeking to interfere with the peaceful transfer of the power in this country for the first time in our history. 1 year later, I stood on the same spot on the House floor, and it was hard to recall those memories, but also painful to realize that our democracy is even more vulnerable today than it was a year ago.
You know, the vice president, as you know, Kamala Harris, made a really strong statement, and we can use, you know, other adjectives for this, really comparing the insurrection to 9/11 and Pearl Harbor. Do you agree with that assessment?
I do agree that January 6th will go down in history now as one of those dates associated with an infamous attack. And I also think that given that this attack occurred by our own people, it has a very different kind of a meaning and poses a different kind of danger. And the fact that here we are now 12 months later, and the same falsehood about our election that led to that violence is still being promulgated around the country with millions of Americans believing it. And with the threats to not just members of Congress, but school board members, city council members, local elections officials, state legislators, all going up. It's a very dangerous trend for the country. So, yes, I do think that's a day that's going to live in infamy. But sadly, we're not past the danger.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that because, you know, just this last year, and I'm not talking about the new year here, but in 2021, you released your memoir in your book, Midnight in Washington, How We Almost Lost Democracy and Still Could. Do you firmly believe our democracy is at war, and could it be lost?
I strongly believe that our democracy is at risk and could be lost. And I grew up like most Americans in the post-World War II period, thinking that democracy was kind of an immutable law of nature, because all of our experience had been more countries becoming democracies, more people living with more freedom. And I think we got to believe that this was somehow an autopilot. It's not. Our democracy is, as it turns out, very fragile. And we have moved backwards, not forwards, in terms of strengthening our democracy. We're seeing things happen here that we never imagined would happen. We're seeing around the country in state legislatures efforts to strip independent officials of their duties and give them over to partisans who will overturn the results of the next election if they don't like it. That's fundamentally un-American. And I think we need to wake up to the threat.
You know, you've been on this January 6th committee. You guys have been through over 700 arrests at this point. The DOJ and the Attorney General, Merrick Garland, obviously weighing in a year later. And I think a lot of Americans want to know, what are you seeing where there's actual proof that former President Trump orchestrated or hesitated in trying to stop the attack on the Capitol?
Well, I can't go too much into the evidence that we've gathered apart from what we've already publicly released. But we've interviewed now over 300 witnesses and gathered over 30,000 documents. And it's not just about January 6th. It's not just about what he did to incite that mob, and of equal importance, what he didn't do when the attack began and went on for hours as he watched the attack happening from the luxury of the dining room next to the cabinet room. It's not just about January 6th. It's also about multiple lines of effort to overturn the election, to misuse the Justice Department to promulgate false claims of fraud, to coerce state elections officials like the Secretary of State in Georgia to find 11,780 votes that don't exist. So we are gathering lots of evidence on all of these issues. We'll begin public hearings, I think, in the next few weeks, and begin sharing that information with the public.
Could we see the former Vice President, Mike Pence, at one of those public hearings?
I think it would be wonderful to have the former vice president cooperate with our committee, be interviewed, testify in either a public or private setting. We would accommodate, I think, the vice president's interest there. The most important thing is to get the information, and probably no one knows better than he does all of the efforts that were made to coerce him into ignoring his constitutional duty. He has a ministerial function during that joint session. He counts the votes. That's it. But they were urging him to ignore that constitutional limitation and overturn the election on behalf of Donald Trump. And no one, I think, could speak more eloquently about that than he could if he's willing.
Almost 2 decades you sat pretty close to the former Valley Congressman here, Devin Nunes. Obviously, his resignation official this week. And I'm wondering, he was a political nemesis for you for almost your entire time in Congress. I'm wondering if his resignation shocked you and how you can describe his time in Congress.
Actually, we were not at all adversaries for most of our common tenure in Congress. Up until Donald Trump was elected, we worked together very well and very closely and very amicably. Things changed, as so much did in the country when Donald Trump was elected, and he became essentially on his perch as chair and then ranking member of the Intelligence Committee, a legal defense counsel for the president, which was not the role that he was supposed to play when we were doing an objective investigation. So yes, things deteriorated at that point. He became, I think, one of the biggest apologists for the former president. And it was shocking to learn that he was suddenly leaving, but not at all surprising that he was going to make formal what he'd been doing informally, and that is go to work for a PR company to help the former president.
All right, Congressman Adam Schiff, we appreciate your time here in Washington. Thanks so much.
Well, if I had been a doctor, you would have made my mother very proud, let me tell you.
Hey, you never know. It could still happen. It's still early.